Hey everyone, it's James of geometriccharts.com, November 2nd, about 4:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It's the 4-hour chart of Bitcoin, BTC, USD on the Bitfinex exchange. So first of all, the video is not investment advice. Second of all, price is kind of drifting around here. But one thing I want to point out, I know I talk about, the bearish outlook on the bigger picture of Bitcoin. And what I mean by the bigger picture is just the past couple months and where I think we're potentially heading unless something dramatically changes in this market. And that something would obviously be a big price change along with an influx in volume that is sustained beyond 48 to 72 hours, showing that nice steady stream of buyers coming into this market. But we do have some clear what is called bearish divergence, where price is moving up, the RSI is moving down. It's not a good sign at all for the market. So we do have some multi-layers of support. Clearly you can see where these buyers are stepping up. Buyers here have now moved here. Those same buyers moved here, and apparently we have that buyer here. Now, volume is not changed significantly. We went from about 3.7 to about 4.1. So it doesn't look like a ton of money is coming in during these buying sessions. And in the bigger picture of things, volume has dramatically been cut in half from where it used to trade on average, if not even more. I mean, almost in a third from what we were talking about when we were trading in the 11,000, 12,000 range. So anyways, so as price started diving down now, we've kind of hit into almost this triangular formation in a sense, right? You can see the triangle. But instead what I see is price spending a lot of time on this support line and just living off of life support. And if that plug gets pulled, obviously you can see with the bearish divergence, in the RSI, where the lagging indicator is showing the momentum is dying as price is pushing higher, and you think that this would have dramatically changed that. Nope, not at all. It was just a blip on the screen, a hollow move, we hit a pocket of air and the engine stalled, and that was it. Boom, or no air, I should say, in that sense. And boom, everything just collapsed. And now we have a serious problem in the market, and the market's just hanging on by literally, I feel like, a thread. And if this buyer or these buyers step out of this zone and they realize that this move is not really progressing like they want it to, then Bitcoin has only one place to go, and that's obviously down, to resolve this bearish divergence and turn the tide of the market. That's a more longer term perspective. I don't imagine anything significantly happening for at least another maybe 5 trading days or so. Maybe after the weekend. I have a feeling that Bitcoin is going to be propped up for another push up like it always has in the past, especially if there's going to be a dive off a cliff into the future. I do see some of the alts popping up like IOTA, ADA, Bitcoin Cash made a pretty nice move today, up 9.3% so far. So some pretty good moves in the alts. I don't think much is going to happen over the weekend, especially in Bitcoin, but possibly by next week, the market could start traversing higher. And I don't think it's going to be the bottom in Bitcoin. Like everyone, the media is going to hype it up. They're going to be like, that's it. This is the bottom of the market, blah, blah. We're going to the moon, just like they have every other time. But what I think could possibly happen is a push in this market just to potentially resolve some of this massive selling pressure. I mean, these buyers who stepped into this madness are definitely down a significant amount. So I would look for price to push up to resolve this problem that is in the market, where these people jumped in, and it could have, I'm sure it's a mix of retail and some big buyers as well too, partially resolve that issue and then potentially dive deeper. Or what'll happen after the next pump is I think instead of maybe a massive dump, unless all of a sudden we start just dropping off a cliff in the past and we're breaking through 6,200 area, then we have a significant problem. But what I think is probably going to happen is if we do make that move up, we'll probably just continue to traverse sideways, busting through these uptrend lines and not even working on an uptrend, working more horizontally than anything, building out that bigger base, which is going to take a lot of time to resolve. And obviously you can see that, especially in the most recent price movement in Bitcoin. If we just chop this area off, which is basically useless, because just as quick as Bitcoin got up there, it immediately got dropped back down. So the real price action in Bitcoin is really right here. And this is the reality of Bitcoin and what it's doing. So yeah, there's some little sparkles up here, shooting star, whatever, just to draw some attention, create some hype in the market, but it's very, very shortly lived in this market. So this is the true nature of what's happening here. And I imagine that if Bitcoin does get the push that I'm possibly thinking, it's just going to continue to do this and kind of live within this area, breaking that uptrend line, consolidating for months, and then potentially making a bigger move down the road. But again, I do not see Bitcoin making this crazy moonshot going into the end of the year. I know a lot of people are looking for that. A lot of people think like the end of the year is typically a good time for Bitcoin, or early next year will be a good time. It looks like Bitcoin is dwindling in price and it's returning to normalization, and this process is going to take a long time. And if it's being held on life support and all of a sudden we start dropping through the 6,200 mark, I do think this market is going to have some serious problems, because there's a lot of energy being accumulated. As the energy tightens, it's going to start making some erratic moves and some big moves as well too. And we've already seen that. We've already seen it fall off of here, consolidate, throw itself up, consolidate, throw itself up, consolidate, throw itself up, consolidate, possibly throw itself up. And if it starts to break back down and we cannot hold this line and start to break higher and have sustained volume, then all this energy, it's still being accumulated. It really hasn't gone really anywhere at the end of the day, compared to the moves that Bitcoin used to produce. All that energy is just going to continue to dwindle downward. And if these buyers cannot keep propping this market up, more than likely because the market's not going anywhere and the trade's going to work against them, then they're going to have to step down. And they're going to have to wait for price to kind of settle itself down. Let it waterfall, let it settle, and then go from there. So I don't think there's a very high probability that the market's just going to tank from here. But I can tell you, if 6,200 gets broken, Bitcoin could potentially be looking for another waterfall event. And it could be pretty dramatic in this market due to the amount of condensed energy building up here over the past few months, and due to the bearish divergence in the lagging indicators. So the only thing I would say is that it's not investment advice. I can't give it on YouTube. I think the video will be, I'm sure, removed if you even talk about anything like that. But the suggestion for anyone trading is always to use stops. And in this market, I definitely think caution needs to be advised. So whether it's a 5% stop below where your entry point is, a 10% stop, it doesn't matter. The point is that while the market could produce another leg up, and I think very well it will, even if it is going to topple over, I think it will, but you need to isolate that risk as much as possible. And if you do not, you could be in a world of hurting. The same way these people bought in. the same way these people bought in. Well, these people, more than likely, if they were smart enough to sell, they got resolved. But I think everyone gets what I'm saying, that this market could quickly, just like the tip of this iceberg, the tip of this iceberg, the tip of this iceberg, you could be looking at another tip of the iceberg right here or here, and all of a sudden you're down here, right? So the momentum's showing it, the volume is showing it. So if you are involved in this market financially, I cannot stress enough that a stop loss would be the wisest decision of your life to protect downside risk. So anyways, on the short term, at the end of the day, I still think there's room for another pump in this market. On the longer term, like over the next couple months, possibly even going into the new year, I think at best the market's going to go horizontal. At worst, it's going to break 6,200, and whomever's been propping this market up is going to start to step back and step down in that sense, meaning that they're going to look for price to waterfall off and then look for another potential pump and dump area to stabilize price. Pump it, dump it, pump it, dump it. Try to stabilize it, see how the market reacts. If the market likes it there, then that's where they'll hold it. Could be 5,000, could be 4,000, could be 3,000, could be zero. I don't even know. Nobody knows the future. It's never guaranteed. I don't think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency market's going to zero, but I'm saying that there's a lot of energy built up in this market at this level, and clearly the support line is being tested a lot. And eventually, if you keep knocking at a door, it's going to open. And if this door opens, it's gonna lead to a waterfall event. I believe it, and it's gonna catch a lot of people off guard because a lot of people are acting like 6,000 is the guaranteed bottom. I see that a lot. Okay, so that's another red flag. Aside, with the volume being washed out, with the bearish divergence. So, anyways, don't mean to reiterate this, but I just cannot stress enough the caution in this market based on what I've seen in the past, based on what I'm seeing now. If you've been following along, I know you've heard it multiple times, but I just can't say it enough in a market where there's a lot of hype around it, and a lot of people think that this is it, this is the bottom, but there's never any guarantee in any market, so you have to protect yourself. But anyways, that's it. I'll talk to everybody on Monday. And hopefully we start to kind of see this market stabilize and produce that next pump that I'm looking for. But I do think that next pump is going to lead to another dump. And the question is does it hold above the 6,200 mark or not? So anyways, have a great weekend. Have a great day, night, depending on where you are. Again, I'll talk to everybody on Monday. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your support. If you do like the video, you like the content, please like, comment, subscribe, and follow.